Cool. Let's just wait just another minute or so for people to pop in. I know it's a Sunday here. Jason, you're across the pond. What time is it for you?
So it is 5 p.m. here, so it's not a bad time. But yeah, being a Sunday, it might be a little bit slower today, but at least these talks are recorded and people can listen in later.
Yes, I do see the record flashing, so Amir's got that handled, so we're good to go there.
I say it's
Five
nine, is
o'clock
it
though.
9 a.m. for you guys, isn't it?
For me, it is. Raph, you're an hour or two ahead of me, right?
10 a.m.
Yeah.
So what are you drinking, Jay?
Funnily enough, actually just a cup of tea today. I'm being quite good.
Oh, how very British of you.
I know, right? Could have been more of a stereotype if I tried.
You can't bill your employer for time on the clock if you admit you're drinking a beer. So
What? That's not how the UK works.
yeah,
Unless you're at Meridian.
that that is true. All right, let's see here. We got a good list of people in here. You guys want to wait another minute, or you think we're good?
Yeah, it's
Boxy,
only
good
it's only
morning.
10:02.
Boxy's
Oh,
here,
sorry.
so we can get started. Boxy finally made it, so we're good. Um, Let me get global pulled up here just so I can keep an eye on that. But I think we're good. I mean, it's Sunday. We're hoping we can the listeners after the fact, since it's a Sunday. I think we get a more long tail listeners after these, anyways. So we can go ahead and get rocking. So welcome everybody. This is kind of our second one back, I guess you could say. Raph and I took a little break, and now we're back to help promote Stellar Global and the launch of Soroban on Stellar. So we previously had another DeFi guest, and today we have one you guys might be more familiar with since they've been around a while. So we've got Jay Cudmore from the Aquarius project. And then, of course, I am Jayrome. We've got Raph here, and Amir is running the show in the background. So we're all here to support Stellar as a whole, but we are here also to represent Stellar Global. Stellar Global is a community of Stellar enthusiasts from all over the world, as you could guess from the name. But our community mainly exists on Discord, so you can check. We'll have Amir pin one of the tweets with a link to the Discord, so you can join in the conversation there. So questions at the end for people on the call, but we'll also keep an eye there on the Stellar Global Discord server if there's anyone that would prefer to ask questions there as opposed to raising their hand to speak. I know some people can be a little shy. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So Jason, why don't you go ahead? I call you Jason. I mean, it says Jay. What would you prefer to be called?
I'm happy with either. Most of my friends and colleagues call me Jay these days, so we'll
Oh,
go
we
with Jay if
got
you want.
so now we got a J Rome and a just a J. So that might be a little confusing, but we'll go with that. So Jay, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your backstory. We'll get into the Aquarius stuff in a minute, but just give us a little bit of your backstory and how you got here.
Sure. So I am based in the UK. I have been in the crypto space since about 2014 now, so way back when, and then I slowly got into the Stellar ecosystem about 2017 now. And a bit of background before all of the Stellar work that I've been doing over the last few years, I was simply working like usual jobs, a bit of chefing, working in retail, onto even doing Amazon deliveries, those kind of areas. And then I was in retail management for a bit, which led into me becoming the chief marketing officer for Aquarius.
And so I'm glad you ended with that at the end because I know the backstory of how when we met at the Meridian in Rome. I
Yes.
got to hear the story of how you actually became a part of the Aquarius team. So
Yeah.
why don't you tell the quick version of the story of how you got on the radar of the guys over there?
Yeah, for sure. So it was actually it was the Ultra Stellar team originally that got hold of me. So after I was in retail management after COVID, obviously it was a terrible time for everyone, and I just had enough of all customer service related items. I decided to quit the retail job outright, and I was just for about 6 weeks doing a lot of posts on Reddit for Stellar. So I was writing a few articles. One of them was the Y assets for Ultra Stellar. They hadn't really promoted it at the time, so I thought I'll do a nice little article for them. Put it onto Reddit, and before you know it, I had the guys up top messaging me saying they were impressed with the article, and I was also helping them do a few little tests with the Y assets in the background, and then yeah, was offered a job at Ultra Stellar originally, and then a few months later got moved over to Aquarius. So it was shit posting pays off sometimes, especially when you're unemployed. So
I
keep
remember
going.
you telling us a story about how you named lobster.
Oh, I didn't name lobster as such, but I can't remember the original naming for the lobster application, but essentially lob is a word in British for throwing, and STR used to be the ticker for lumens before it changed to XLM. So you got lob and STR put them together, you got lobster. But that was the unofficial naming for the app.
Yeah, the people that know that the original ticker was STR, you originally they have some street cred because they've been around a while if they're familiar with that fact. So I don't think people really tie that into the lobster name, but once they know that fact, it all kind of makes sense.
It
So
all slots in.
cool. So let's hop in. So obviously we're here to talk about Aquarius move to AMMs on the Soravon side. So we'll just touch briefly on the history. Hopefully most people here are familiar with what you guys have done on the classic side. But just give us the quick elevator pitch for anyone that's not familiar, what exactly Aquarius is as it exists today.
For sure. So Aquarius has been around for about 3 years now, since it was first proposed to the community for a essentially a incentive model for Stellar decks, because AMMs didn't even exist at that point. And then about 2.5 years ago, just as Stellar AMMs launched as well, we have basically been incentivizing those to market make and liquidity provide on both Stellar Classic decks and Classic AMMs, and that's been running through to today. And I've lost track how many Aqua we've distributed, but it's in its fair few billions now. So when people are still happily market making, liquidity providing, and earning those rewards every hour.
And I think there's still, so the original, there was Aqua that was airdropped to holders, and I think we have maybe 10 or 11 months left of that. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the end of airdrop 2 is February next year, so coming to about 11 months left now.
Nice. And so the rest of today, I'm sure we will talk about the assets that kind of make up the Aquarius ecosystem, the Aqua and Ice. So give us a quick, just so later when we mention Ice tokens and stuff like that, give people an idea of exactly what Ice is and how you acquire those and how that relates to Aqua.
For sure. So anyone that has maybe used CRV and VCurve in the Curve Finance, like over on other chains, ICE works in a similar way. So you can freeze your Aqua into ICE tokens, and essentially that gives you boosted voting power within the Aquarius ecosystem to select which markets are rewarded, and also gives you an additional bonus when you are market making liquidity providing to earn more Aqua each hour. And also, you can partake in the governance process. So when anyone puts a proposal through to the community to vote on, you have more voting power there as well. So yeah, you earn your Aqua, and then you can turn it into ICE to have more of a say within the Aquarius ecosystem.
So when it comes to the new project on Soravon, how are things different? What's going to change for you guys?
In regards to ICE, Aqua, or the whole
The whole thing. So you guys made a couple of SEF applications. You guys are building
Sure.
AMMs on Soravon. How is the new side on Soravon different from what you guys have done historically?
For sure. So previously, as I said, Aquarius has been incentive model for both Stellar decks and AMMs. What changes drastically with Soraban now is that we're building our very own AMMs. So from here on in, not only are we rewarding liquidity provision, we're also providing the tools for people to provide liquidity and be inside many various pools with more advantages than Stellar Classic.
And how are those pools different? Are there different fees or?
Yeah, sure. So upon launch, I'm hoping we are 1 week into phase one now, aren't we? So hopefully phase two launches, and once phase two launches, Aquarius will be able to deploy MMs because it is quite intensive transaction wise. So for us on classic AMMs on Stellar, you've only really got one option. You deposit into a liquidity pool, and it's got a 0.3% fee on. Once we launch Aquarius AMMs, you are able to create multiple pools for each market. So take XLM Aqua, for instance, you can create 3 different constant product pools. So constant product is what is on Classic Stellar at the moment. And that has a 0.1, 0.3, or 1% fee. So you can deposit liquidity into those 3 different types of pools. And then obviously, if you've got small traders that are doing very small transactions, it will use probably the 0.1% fee pool, which will earn you like fees that way. And then also, if you've got higher trades, then you might want to deposit into the 1% pool so that you earn more for those that are trading like larger volumes of assets. And then, so that's one type of pool we're doing, which is constant product, and you've got 3 options for 3 different fees. And we'll also be finally launching stable swaps onto the Stellar network. So that means those that like to trade between different, say, stablecoin tokens. I know on Stellar at the moment, we've now got Mykobo, for instance. You've got EuroC with them. You've got Circle's EuroC, and you've even got Status, a new Euro stablecoin, which is ERRS. You'll be able to create a stable swap pool with those tokens and put them into a liquidity pool, and then trade them essentially 1-for-1 with each other without having to use a DEX. So that will be a nice upcoming feature, I think, that a lot of Stellar users will use. And also, you've even got like XLM and YXLM and those kind of assets. On Stellar Classic at the moment, you'll see like the YXLM and XLM pool has $1.5 million worth of liquidity, yet there's no trades across it ever because the SDEX takes care of it. But with a stable swap pool, those kind of stable assets will finally be able to be used within an AMM ecosystem for users to partake in liquidity provision, which I'm really excited about.
So with StableSwap being a type of pool that a market can be voted on, do you find that do you think that we're gonna have a lot more stable coins in the reward zone?
I'd like to think so. Like obviously with liquidity provision, like assets that have value in the first place, so especially stable coins that have value in the real world and online at the same time. I think we should see a lot more of those kind of assets be put into the reward zone, especially since those assets will be rewarded more freely. And like an additional with the stable swaps, it won't just be 2 assets. You can, I believe, up to 4 assets can be put into a pool at the same time. So you can have 4 stable assets and have them all traded and within one pool to be swapped between all at the same time.
That's pretty cool. Can someone vote for their own LP contract, or does it have to be done through Aquarius?
It will be done through Aquarius. So we provide all the interface for pools to be created on each market, and you'll be able to select obviously the fees. So with constant product, as I said, 3 pools can be made. Like you can deploy all 3 pools, and anybody can deploy them anytime. And also same with stable swaps, you have the option to create up to 3 pools, and the fees are very different on that. You can choose between 0.04% all the way up to 1%, which is quite nice. And there's also another feature called it's called the amplification coefficient. So a little bit technical side, but basically you can make sure that a stable pool is as stable as possible by changing the value there. So the end user will be able to make use of all those features.
And so let's say I have like a Stellar Classic token, and am I still able to get it voted in, or do I have to use Sorbonne tokens, or does it make a difference?
So I believe, off the top of my head, it will be Soroban tokens, and you'll be able to essentially invoke those contracts for the Soroban version of those tokens inside the Aquarius ecosystem when you're voting on those markets. And another feature, obviously, we've got expiring state contracts for tokens. Within Aquarius, you're able to bump and even get that contract for a token back up and running all within the interface. So essentially, Aquarius can become a place to get asset contracts back up and running and maintained constantly, especially if they're within the Aquarius ecosystem being used highly.
You mentioned a couple times the interface. I've seen the SEF application in the demo videos, but what's changing with the interface?
We've got Aqua.network as it is at the moment. Essentially, two new sections we put in, which is the AMM pools themselves and then the swap interface. So one thing with Aquarius and Soroban, you've got really two sections here. You've got Aquarius AMMs where you can deploy pools yourself and also withdraw and deposit liquidity into them. And also you've got the swap protocol. So that can be deployed not just within Aquarius, but we're making an API so you can put the swap protocol into other applications, say Beans, for instance, if they've got any assets they use that they would like to swap between, like for users to swap between, they could use the Aquarius AMM like swap feature and put it into their app at the same time. Which I think is like makes the network more efficient for using liquidity across the board, especially if Aquarius AMMs become successful. So it's like a more open reach, not just to be used within Aqua network, but to be used elsewhere as well.
It's kind of interesting how to see how other DeFi protocols are going to plug into Aquarius that way.
Yeah, for sure.
And then so that means that I can do everything within the Aquarius site and not go to StellarX.
Yeah, no, that's I think that's been one of the pain points for most new users trying to learn about Aquarius. At the moment, you've got the voting systems all on Aqua.network, and then once you see if a market's being rewarded, you have to then obviously go across to say StellarX Lobster for market making and liquidity provision. But now with the AMM side, it'll all be within Aqua.network, so a user will be able to come in, see exactly what's happening, and then just get started straight away without needing much background information. So it should be a more streamlined experience.
So is this going to be the end of Aquarius on the classic side for DEX and AMM rewards? Or, I mean, is everything going to be migrated to the Soroban side and Aquarius will just be a Soroban project? Or how's that going to work?
So for the foreseeable future, we will be continuing the SDEX rewards. So they've been proven quite popular, and it makes sense to continue for the time being SDEX rewards being implemented. But it makes sense for us now to move the reward system from Stellar AMMs over to Aquarius AMMs because obviously we would like our AMMs to be as full as possible to make them as usable for all users. And it's going to be a bit of no, I wouldn't say it's too much of a challenge. Obviously, there's been a bit of talk about liquidity pools possibly crashing on Stellar AMM side because people exiting quickly to join Aquarius AMMs. But I think the nice thing, especially with us continuing with the SDEX rewards, the majority of rewards are actually on the SDEX at the minute. So they kind of create stable rails on either side of the order book. So if people exit quickly from a liquidity pool, the SDEX has got you covered anyway, and there's not actually going to be a lot of slippage. And I think in that retrospect, when we move across to Aquarius AMMs being rewarded, it will be hopefully quite a smooth transition over. So I don't think we're going to have a big issue on that side. But yeah, we will be continuing with SDEX rewards and then moving over to Aquarius AMMs for rewards.
So how does that work? Because I know there's a set amount of Aqua rewards that are distributed per day. So is that pool going to grow, or is that same piece of the pie just going to be distributed further?
We're keeping, as far as I'm aware, the 7 million Aqua a day will stay as is, and then it's broken down into SDEX and AMMs for each markets in the reward zone based on their percentage in the reward zone. That will all stay the same. The only thing you'll see different is instead of a Stellar AMM being rewarded, it'll be an Aquarius AMM being rewarded, and then you just move across to Aquarius AMMs as and when you want. But some people might want to continue on Stellar AMMs, especially if the liquidity is there and you're earning a lot of natural fees over on Stellar anyway. Like I was just looking at the analytics for XLM USDC. The daily fee rewards that liquidity providers are earning there is a lot. It's 7 times higher than what you're earning in Aqua rewards. So at the moment, it makes more sense for you to stay over on Stellar AMMs for a minute rather than rush over to Aquarius AMMs because although you're earning the Aqua, you're no longer earning as much in daily fees from people naturally trading over the market. So I think that's another thing people have to consider is obviously, although Aqua is brilliant to earn, once we move over to Aquarius AMM, it's not just the Aqua you can be earning, it'll be the fees as well. And if we've got a lot of transaction volume going through pools, you'll be earning a lot more in fees naturally from the assets you provide. So Aqua's more of a complement rather than trying to be the overall reward.
Nice. So, will there be any other changes to the reward structure? I guess. I mean, I'm just picturing this 7 million a day being dispersed through three different avenues now, as opposed to two.
Yeah.
I mean, it is in the future if you see that participation, if everything starts to move to Sorbonne side, is that full 7 million going to transfer over there, or is it
I
just
could imagine so. Like there has been talks in the past about SDEX being deprecated completely, and I think with Soroban now live, and you've the last guys you talked to, Phoenix, they're creating their own decks anyway. I could imagine if those dexes get more popular than the Stellar decks anyway, we might see Stellar decks get deprecated, which would free up a lot of ledger space, which would be good for Stellar anyway.
yeah?
Although people
I,
would be very upset to see that dex go.
Yeah, that was a pretty hot take by Tomer, I believe, in Rome, that his talk with Jed and Justin, when he said, I think the decks will be gone in, what did he say, like a few years or something like that. And then everyone was kind of like, what? And then Jed says, I don't think the decks is going anywhere. But I mean, it
Yeah,
is if you look at the operations on the network, it is a
it's
lot of what
heavily
makes up the
dex
network.
related. Mm.
And that kind of, I think we were gonna touch on it later, but that brings up a point for you guys also, because right now you guys are sending out hourly rewards,
Yeah,
but at least I guess it could tie in. So will
it does
everything
tie in
be
nicely.
claimable on Sorbonne now? Will everything kind of
Yeah.
accumulate on the Sorbonne side, and that's the only place you can claim? There won't be any more hourly rewards, or will it be if you're doing SDEX AMM on the Classic, you'll still get an hourly, and then anything on Sorbonne side, you'll be able to claim as you wish?
Yes. So SDEX wise, it will still be hourly reward distribution, so that doesn't change at all. The main change with Aquarius AMMs is that it all does compile within the smart contract. So when you deposit into a pool, you won't be getting hourly rewards anymore. Instead, every few seconds, in the background, the contract will update how much Aqua rewards you have accumulated. And then currently our demo updates this every 20 seconds for you, and you choose at your leisure when you want to claim your Aqua back. So not only does that give you more freedom, say you don't want to have 24 transactions going to your wallet, which is a headache for tax and all those purposes, you can let your rewards accumulate over the course of, a day, 2 weeks, 3 months, however long you want, and then claim in your own time. So you just get one bulk payment of Aqua whenever you desire, which is a lot better for transactions as well, because you're no longer got all these like tens of thousands of transactions going out all the time. Instead, it'll just be a few as and when users want to claim those Aqua.
How much do you guys usually pay in fees right now for sending out those daily Aqua?
So it's still not extortionate as what like as such. I've just been playing around with the wallets this week to see how much we've been going through, and it is around about 2,000 XLM a month we spend sending out the transactions. So it does, especially as we move into this stage and we've got more and more people joining the ecosystem, that can definitely get out of hand very quickly. At the moment, it's manageable. But yeah, once with Aquarius AMMs, with users able to claim as and when, it'll be less us paying for. We'll be obviously keeping the contracts running as and when, but it'll be the user paying for their transaction to claim their Aqua back from the contract, which will, as we know, will be minimal fee anyway. But instead of us paying these fees every hour, the user just claims as and when they want.
Is there any changes to voting? Because I know that's done through claimable balances.
Sure, this will be the next step. Once we get the AMMs up and running and everything's all good, obviously we're looking at the rest of the protocol to see how we can decentralize it further and move off of claimable balances. I know we've kind of pioneered the way with using claimable balances for all the voting mechanisms and the ice locks and that, but we have obviously seen claimable balances be a headache for a lot of people, and there has been talk about deprecating claimable balances full stop. Obviously, that hasn't been ideal for us, those talks, because it's how Aquarius runs completely at the minute. Everything runs by claimable balances from voting through to ice locks. So we'll see over the course of the year, we'll probably need to move over to Soroban on those areas, which in fact will be better anyway, and it'll be more efficient. We'll be able to do a lot more fun things with Soroban over claimable balances, because claimable balances are like a hard lock into the ecosystem. You make a vote for a week or lock Aqua into ice for a year. That's how long it stays locked for, and you have to wait for everything to melt down. Whereas with Soroban, we're hoping, especially when it comes to ice locks, if again, if you've ever used vCurve in the Curve ecosystem, say you locked tokens for 3 years to gain more voting power, you have to currently with ice wait 3 years before you can relock again and get your voting power back. On Curve, you lock for 3 years. After a year, say you want to relock because of the smart contract and the way it works, you can then relock and gain all your voting power back without having to wait another 2 years. So those kind of fun things can be done with Soroban to make ice more usable for users. And also you could I was having a discussion the other day within our Discord. Say you wanted to unlock your Aqua early because you've locked it for 3 years. You could pay a premium overhead to get the contract to unlock your Aqua quicker. So in that aspect, you have a lot more freedom, although you'd have to pay a price for it, which obviously would be beneficial towards the Aquarius ecosystem in either way. So it's
And that's something
opens
that's
up a
going
lot
to
more
exist.
opportunities.
That's
No,
something that's
that was an idea that I spewed out, but it's those kind of things we can start thinking about and exploring more in-depth ways to make Aqua, Ice, and the Aquarius ecosystem just more fun to be with and more DeFi friendly, rather than just being like a hard issue like it has been with claimable balances. Like once that claimable balance is made, it is there and it's locked in. So
So right now I'm hearing that there's going to be like kind of a duality, like there's like two systems going on at the same time with the Classic and the Soroban. Am I going to need to use two different wallets between if I want to interact between two systems?
No, you can still use your same wallet you've been using this whole time for both systems. So it would be the same as currently on Aqua.network. You log in with either Wallet Connect, Ledger, Stellar Laboratory for like Trezor and all those options, or Secret Key if you so wish to use your secret key. You still use your same wallet as what you're using now to use all the systems.
And they will all support Soroban transactions.
We're hoping, obviously, as time goes. I'm pretty sure Stellar Lab already does support Soroban transactions. Wallet Connect, we are hoping it will be, because that opens up to quite a few wallets. Lobster being the main one, but there are a few other wallets out there that use Wallet Connect as well. But yeah, I think it's just going to be a case of upgrading those to support Soroban transactions.
Talking about the reward zone, do you think Soroban's going to change the assets that we see in the reward zone? Like, is it going to be something that's going to be, again, right now, I'll be honest, like when you look at the reward zone, it can be a little scary. There's a lot of unknown assets and sometimes very speculative. So how do you think, the new Soroban side is going to change the reward zone?
I think I think we should see a change towards probably more assets that users are familiar with, for like stable coins and those kind of assets. Because like obviously when I've been at conferences and that, I'm talking with liquidity providers and also stablecoin providers and those kind of people to see if they will join the Aquarius ecosystem. The current holdback is that obviously it's just SDEX. Like actually market making, liquidity providing. Whereas with Aquarius, AMM's having more flexibility. That we should see liquidity providers move across, and then hopefully see those assets move into the reward zone as well as users start voting for them.
And then that's kind of like my most excited point about Sorbonne is that now we're going to see borrowing and lending on chain, and that's going to be kind of combined with Aquarius, where you're going to have people are going to start borrowing Aqua so they can make votes and stuff. Like I think there's lots of synergy between having a greater DeFi ecosystem and Sorbonne.
Yeah, for sure. Like at the moment, say an upcoming project would like to get their asset into the reward zone, say a stablecoin issuer, to acquire enough Aqua at the minute, although it is still in the affordable stage for like say a company. If you were able to borrow that quickly from a lending protocol, get your asset into the reward zone, get the more liquidity into those markets to then start getting those fees going, like not just the Aqua rewards, but the fees in the first place by making it a usable market. I think that could pay off well for any of these companies rather than, investing a bulk in Aqua in the hope that it will work. Instead, borrow from one of these protocols, get up and running faster. And I think, all in all, the DeFi ecosystem on Stellar is going to hopefully grow a lot faster than what we think, I hope.
And I know SDF announced back at Meridian that there was a partnership, I believe, with Certora, that they were going to pay for security audits. Have you guys had the contracts audited, or is that something that's
we are
pending,
in the
or where are you guys
process.
at?
We are in the process with our audit, so our developers are working with those auditors at the minute to ensure the contracts are fit to go once we're ready. We haven't got a date on that yet, but obviously before we're aiming for phase 2 when Soroban moves into it. But that will depend on whether our audits are back in time, because obviously we think that having the audit there, for safety reasons, and also so our users know, right, it's been certified and they are ready to go, and it's not just we're not rushing it. So aiming for phase 2 for launch, but it will depend on our audits, which we are going through at the minute. We've been going through this for about 4 weeks now, so we are in good progress with them.
And is that with Certora, and that was through the SDF program, or did you guys?
It was through the SDF program, yes.
Nice. Yeah, when they announced that at Meridian, I know everyone, that was a big applause that happened. Everyone was excited that they did that. So, so you mentioned phase 2. So technically, you guys, it sounds like you guys will fit within phase 2 limits. I mean, Sorbonne phase 2 is kind of when the limits are high enough that they're expecting protocols to be able to launch. But it sounds like you guys are planning to wait till everything is fully audited, so that phase 2 launch day, we're not going to be pinging you on Discord saying, hey, when is this going live? That's not a hard date for when you're launching.
Yeah, not a hard date, but you never know, right? We might get the audits finished next week, for instance, and then we would be ready. But yeah, for now, once you see that we've posted that our audits are complete and you see the results of the audit, then it won't be long after that we'll be deploying. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, phase 2 is going to be interesting. I incorporated the current Sorbonne metrics into the Stellar data feed bot, and you can tell that everyone's just kind of waiting for the limits to go up, because without, I think, Enrique's domain service, and that's probably about it. That's about all the transactions that are going through Sorbonne right now. So it sounds like everyone's waiting for phase 2, not doing too much playing around there. So, I mean,
And Fred Snooker, if you could play Snooker right now on.
Yes. That was by Fred, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's right.
And then, so Stellar, and of course, we're all kind of a part of the Stellar ecosystem, and smart contracts are a new thing to many. I mean, there's various Discord servers I go in, and people are just, how does this even work? I don't understand this. I've been a Stellar person for so long. I don't understand smart contracts. So, I mean, there's going to be a little bit of introducing new users to the concept of Sorbonne and how that relates to the classic side. So what kind of challenges do you see needing to overcome as this moves over to Sorbonne and education? Like, is that something that you guys are planning ahead for? Is it just going to be so easy? Like, the interface is going to be so easy they won't even really know they're interacting with Sorbonne? Or is there going to be some growing pains there and some education needed for people?
I think on the interface basis for your standard user, it should be all pretty straightforward on what they need to do and how to provide liquidity in the first place, claim rewards, those kind of things, and voting. That all kind of stays the same, and because the UI is pretty similar to what Aqua.network is at the minute, it will feel the same to users, that they're still, if they knew they were using Stellar, they'll still feel like they're using classic Stellar. For new users, it shouldn't be too much of a learning curve for them, but we are creating more educational content. We have a new marketing partnership that we've recently just started. So if you're currently going through our Twitter and seeing all the new lovely graphics and designs that are coming through, that's from our new marketing company. So we are working on more content to ensure that users are knowledgeable once they start using Aquarius.
When it comes to long-term development, how do you guys support your funding?
Sure. So obviously we've been using SCF for the moment, just to get the development up and running for all the Soroban related stuff. As we're moving forward, we're not 100% sure which avenue to go down, because we can start obviously with Aquarius AMMs and the swap feature. You could say start charging a small fee on swaps just to start getting a bit of revenue stream through there to continue development. Or what we have looked into in the past is obviously on and off ramping's an important part of the ecosystem. To provide liquidity, you need liquidity on the network in the first place, so you can start incorporating different on and off ramp companies and earning a percentage off of them to fund yourselves. But yeah, we'll definitely be looking into more ways to make Aquarius more self-reliant, to say.
Is there private investments?
I don't know on my level. I believe there was a few investments in the past, but that was before my time. So I won't be able to. I don't know about those ones. So
Sorry, I think we're just moving to the next
Yeah.
section here.
Sorry, I had to mute myself so I could blow my nose there. Apologies. So I mean, the whole airdrop thing on the classic side, when you guys first launched, I mean, that was a huge marketing thing for you guys.
Yeah.
I think people are going to be really excited to use Soroban, and so they'll be, even if rewards, given I could earn X amount on the classic side, I can earn the same amount on the Soroban side. I think people are going to want to go over there and play around. But are there any other incentives? I know you mentioned fees. Obviously the ability to collect more fees based on the pool. It's not a constant 0.3% like it is on the classic side. So what are the incentives besides just like playing with the new shiny thing that are going to draw people over to the Soroban side?
I think incentive-wise, Stellar as an ecosystem has always been great for payments and for real-world asset uses. I think the main incentive is if you've got enough people providing liquidity, then everything else kind of falls into place naturally. You've got new companies coming up with different ideas on how to do remittances or payments. Like we even had I can't remember the name of them, but it was the USDC Circle use case that came out a few days ago with Felix, I think they were called. It's like that those kind of things slot well. If we can get Aquarius AMMs up and running and the incentivizations there for people to provide liquidity to begin with, then they're earning the fees, and then the use cases come alongside it on what you can do with all this liquidity once it's been amassed. I think that will start seeping into the ecosystem in general, and the incentives start building themselves because you've got more use cases for companies to build uses for that liquidity once it's in place. Because at the moment, it's just been like chicken and egg scenario. You can't build the use case because the liquidity is not there. But I think we're at a stage where we can get enough liquidity now because there's enough use cases to tide it over that we should see a lot more use cases come through.
Gotcha. Well, great. I mean, I think that kind of gives people a good overview of what you guys are doing. Is that you think there's anything that we missed that you want to make sure that we share with people, or you want to move to Q&A?
I think that's everything, but I think we'll end on. So I've got an announcement of an announcement, which we all love. We've got a Justin Sun on the situation. So we were talking about airdrops earlier on, and we've always said that airdrop 2 would be the last airdrop, but not to give any details away completely yet. We are going to be collaborating with the community to bring an airdrop 3 potentially for Soroban and Aquarius to bring in more users and also to promote the Aquarius ecosystem. But we are doing it in partnership with the community at whole. So that will be something to listen out for within the next few weeks. So potential airdrop 3.
So when you say collaborate with the community, do you mean needing to pass a governance vote for said airdrop, or what exactly do you mean collaborate with the community?
Potentially, I don't have all the ins and outs, but yeah, it will be in partnership with the community as far as I know. So I haven't been given all the information, so I don't mess up on this call at all. So we'll have to wait and see over the next few weeks. But I would guess at large it will be done through governance, I would expect. But obviously, everyone's got to have a say because I've always said we wouldn't do another airdrop. So obviously, we need the community to be on side. So,
so Raph, are we 2 for 2 on airdrop conversations now? I think we're gonna pretty much be the hype team if you're thinking about airdrop.
I think we like airdrop.
Yeah, I know people are gonna think we're paid in their token or something like that.
Jay, if somebody wanted to have a say in the airdrop or to find out more about Aquarius, where could they go?
So Aqua.network is the main website for us, but also follow us on Twitter. That's the main place you'll see any announcements, and then you've also got our Discord and Telegram, all of which you can find on Aqua.network.
I know that all the proposals are discussed in Discord,
Yeah.
so if you want to talk about it or ask questions, that's where they'll be.
For sure.
And then, so let's move to some questions. If anyone wants to ask any questions, feel free to raise your hand. I believe I can bring you up, or if not, we've got Amir here, and then I'll check Discord also. But there was one quick one to cover from Twitter when I posted, or sorry, X. I still call it Twitter.
I still call it Twitter as well.
Yeah, it's hard to just call it X. It just doesn't sound right. It doesn't flow off the tongue quite well. But there was. So this is going back a ways. I wasn't even aware that this happened previously. That some exchanges with the previous airdrop they were distributing to the users, kind of on behalf of the users. So yes. Someone was asking if there's any movement on any sort of listing. You know, the Sorbonne's going to create. I mean, we're headed, hopefully, fingers crossed, into more of a happy time in the market, I guess I will say.
Yeah.
And so that would coincide well with like an exchange listing. And so someone was asking just about Upbit or BitThumb exchange listing potential in the future.
The exchanges are a difficult one because you've got to try and not just think about what exchanges you're going to be listing on. You've also got to think again where the liquidity is coming for it. So you could list on any exchange in theory, and most of them will ask for a price as well, which, you know, you've got to then think about how much is it worth paying to be listed on one of these exchanges. And once you are listed there, you then got to think, how are you making those markets, which again will come at more cost. So although it seemed easy enough to be like, let's just list on this exchange, you've got all these other things you have to think about in advance and where that liquidity and money is coming from to pay for those listings. So the best thing the community can do, if you have any exchange you want Aqua to be listed on, support message them, and just, you got to try and put the hype train through the exchanges themselves so that they approach us to then want to be listed, because they're like, well, if this token's being like, people want to trade this token, why wouldn't we list it? That's where the money's going to come from them, for them earning fees. So that's always the best route for the community at whole, just to message all these exchanges and basically spam Aqua at them so that they take notice. But I am also the listings manager, so I do talk with exchanges as much as I can. The airdrop ones, we had a few list Aqua naturally on their own. So GoBit, I think, well, not GoBit. What was it, GoBit?
Upbit?
Not Upbit. GoPax. The GoPax the one thing. GoPax listed naturally without us asking anything. They just listed one day, and it was like, oh, brilliant. Probit listed in the end, and we had like negotiations with them on how we can list with them, and they eventually listed. And most of the other exchanges that took part in airdrop 2 are actually distributing Aqua in the background, but they haven't listed it on their markets because no one has said that they want to be trading it. So again, it comes back to, if you want anything Aqua to be listed on an exchange, or any token, especially a Stellar token, and we want to try and push like Stellar as an ecosystem, just message these exchanges and ask them to list. That is the best way you can support the Stellar ecosystem.
I find that dealing with Aqua on a SEX though is kind of weird, because it, like, you miss out on the whole opportunity of learning what's on Stellar. Aqua is like the best place to learn what you can do. You get to deal with the on-chain order books, you get to deal with AMMs. A lot of people don't realize we already have AMMs available. Like rewards, it's just, there's so much that you're learning by using Aquarius that you're missing out on if you were just buying it.
Yeah, exactly. Which is what it's another like tough choice. Do you list on a CEX just to get some exposure for a bit in the hope that some users move across to Stellar and Aquarius? Or is it worth just trying to bring them straight into the Aquarius ecosystem in the first place, because all your trading environment is there already. Like even on Stellar, you don't really need a CEX at all to get into Aqua and Aqua ecosystem. You're better off just teaching the users to come straight to Stellar. But it's always a bit of a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like people want you to be on a CEX, which we're more than happy to try and push here and there as we can. But at the same time, you're just as better coming across to the DEX and using that instantly.
We do have a question from a Lux Pay Band in the audience. Lux, you want to join us?
Thank you, Stellar Global, for hosting another wonderful show. And thank you, Jay and Raph, for co-hosting. Afternoon, Jay. Question. You mentioned the revenue model for sustaining development of Aqua. How confident are you in being able to generate revenue from the sources you mentioned, possibly the swaps? And I think you mentioned something else I can't remember, but thank you.
That'll be the on and off ramping. I believe it's sustainable to a certain degree. Obviously, you need the volume to come through, and in either scenario, you need volume there to get those revenues going, just like any business. But I think also, I think it would be sustainable in the long term. Obviously, in the short term, got to try and think of other ways to get revenue coming through. And I think the best way to do that is collaborating with other ecosystem participants to try and come up with more use cases for Aqua as a whole. And then going from there and just trying to expand Aquarius ecosystem and then get the revenues going through different channels.
Thank you.
That's okay.
All right, Amir, if there's no one else with questions, I think we're good. I don't see anything on global. So I think this might be a good point to go ahead and wrap up. So thank you, everyone, for showing up and joining us this Sunday. This has been recorded, so we'll try and share this out after the fact, get some more exposure for the Aquarius Sorbonne project. And then I think...
Oh, we have one more question. Looks like... Sorry, my
Jack
apologies.
just joined.
Looks like...
Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
Sorry, my apologies.
He requested. Amir, you might have to... Can we get him?
Yeah, there you go. He should be on in a sec.
All right, Jack, you're on.
Hey, again, thanks for a great show. I had a bunch of questions, but you pretty much asked most of them, so good job. I do have a question. If you are operating if you're a project operating in the classic Aquarius model, and you're thinking about transitioning into Sorbonne, what would be the steps that you would take? Also, what will ICE function change in the new platform?
So I'll start on the ICE one first. ICE will change exactly. Will stay exactly as it is right now. So you won't have to do anything at the minute. As I said, we'll be developing to try and change ICE into the Sorbonne ecosystem to make it more flexible. But that's obviously going to take a lot more time to get through. But for the time being, ICE stays exactly as it is. And then the only thing that changes for anyone in the reward zone would be Stellar AMM rewards being deprecated and moved across to Aquarius AMM rewards. So all you would need to do for that, if you provide liquidity on Stellar AMMs, you just need to move your liquidity across to Aquarius AMMs, which you'll be able to do on Aqua.network once we launch. And I believe the system wraps the token into the Sorbonne version for you, and you just deposit your liquidity the same as if you're using Stellar X right now. A very similar experience.
Great, thanks. That helps a lot.
Absolutely fine, Jack. Thank you.
All right, I don't see anything more, so we'll go ahead and wrap up here. That's 50 minutes. I think we covered a lot. So thank you, everyone, for showing up on this Sunday. If you have any questions for Jay and the Aquarius team, there is a pinned tweet with a link to their Discord server. You can go ahead and join there. And then also there should be another tweet with a link to the Stellar Global Discord. Join there, continue the conversation, and let us know any other projects you'd like to hear from. I think there are some plans with some other people from Stellar Global. You might hear some new voices doing some of these shows soon, but we'd love to hear other projects that you think are interesting. It doesn't have to be necessarily Sorbonne related, just anything you think is interesting in the Stellar ecosystem. We'd love to hear from you guys. So thank you, Jay. Thank you, Raph. Thank you, Amir, for running the show. Thank you guys for the questions.
And thank you for the questions.
Of course. Yep. And we will see you next time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Take care.